Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just finished watching this movie. This movie came out 2019, and I have to say, I absolutely love this movie. I actually love this movie. This is pretty cool. This is my first time seeing it, but I have seen clips and clips of this movie all over the internet, all over the memes, all over memes and all this other stuff, and I'm so glad that I watched this. It has Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margaret Robbie or Robbie. Ninth film from Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino only has 9 films? Wow, that's crazy. I would have thought he had more, but I really like this movie. When they started lighting up those neon lights, I was cheering like a Star Wars movie. Like, yeah, yeah. For some reason, like when they were lighting up all those neon lights from Hollywood, I was freaking cheering, man, because I know those places. I know all those places. I've been to a few of those places. Those landmarks are iconic, and also the vintage Taco Bell. That was a sweet little treat there, and all those neon lights that lit up brought me so much joy you would not believe. As someone who lives close but not real close to Hollywood, um, I've been there so many times, been there hundreds of times. I know it back and forth, and I know the area. Also, growing up, the interiors and a lot of the things surprisingly stayed the same. The movie is based in the 1960s, but growing up in the 1980s and the 1990s, I'm going to tell you that the houses look the same. The shag carpet and the 60s decor, it did not change in the 80s. Only like the very rich people that were super rich would update their uh, their interiors, but people that were just regular class and poor, they had their furniture and their walls and their decor um, from the 1960s and 70s, so that never changed. We're living in the 1980s in houses that were still like decored from the 1960s. The bathrooms were pink, the freaking walls were yellow, and there was like turquoise rooms and all kinds of it reeked of the 1970s and the 1960s. So seeing all that stuff was very nostalgic, even from a person that lived here in SoCal in the 1980s and the 90s in the poor neighborhoods. It was still like that. So a lot of that stuff was nostalgic, and I recognized a lot of it. The thing that really also, there was a lot of scenes like a lot of driving and speeding, and that is so LA. Like bumping music and driving around real fast, and well, if you have a convertible, but like everything about, I think Brad Pitt is a little bit more relatable to us than the rich person, but it was still kind of like relatable, and it almost felt like at some point this movie was an ode to Los Angeles. So I was watching this movie, and it's about it's about an old country, no, not country, but like a Western film actor that's kind of like the bad guy, and he's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his stunt devil is Brad Pitt. And I was watching this movie, and basically it feels like a fun little, cool little movie, cool little things here and there. Nothing very suspect until we get to a point where I was watching it for about a good 40, 50 minutes, And I was like, what is this movie even about? Is there even a plot to this? I was having a hard time trying to find the plot. And I'm like, what are they going with here? What is he doing this? What are they doing here? I expected a different vibe from Tarantino, and I was like, this movie's a little too happy, too good. There's something off here. It doesn't feel like a Quentin Tarantino movie unless he just want to make a cool little fun little happy movie. Um and it felt like a cool little happy movie for a long time, about an hour, until, and I had no suspicion at all until he picks up this girl, right? And drives her to this ranch. And at first I was like, all right, he's just driving this girl to this ranch, and then I'm seeing the girls that live there, and it kind of looked like a horror movie. And I was like, oh my god, what the hell? And then once I heard the girl say welcome to the family, I got freaking chills. I almost felt like the blood left my body. And I said, oh my god, like it can't be that. So I got on my Google and I did a little bit of searching. I was familiar with the topic, way familiar with what was about to go on. And the stunt devil was at this ranch. And I was like, oh my god. I felt so much fear at that moment. And this is those who know, you got to be a little bit older to know these things. Um, when they went inside the house, I could have swore I seen the sink and the way things were placed in one of those death movies, like Faces of Death, or like those old movies from the 80s or the 90s, where they show death, like realistic death. I seen that. I seen the interior of the ranch house in that movie, and it created the worst flashbacks. I'm not sure if it was exactly that sink that I seen since when I was a child. When I was a child and I seen that death scene, that sink was filled with severed heads. And you may not understand this, but back in the 80s and the 90s, they made a lot of gore movies that were actual videos of deaths and killings. And they showed this one house where they show a bunch of girls with blood, and inside their kitchen sink there's severed heads, and in the refrigerator there's body parts. And it traumatized me as a kid. So when I seen the exact same film and the same angle, almost like the same angle as I seen it as a kid, it really like scared me. So you have to be a little bit older, I would say past the age of 35, to really understand what is going on in this movie, and to really know where the direction was going, and why the ending ended like that. And you need to know a little bit of history. And I don't want to spoil it or anything like that, but that movie was really about the Hollywood killings done by Charles Manson and the family. And I don't know if it went down exactly like that, but from all the skits that I've seen online, it did not indicate anything like that. And I'm pretty sure that a few people that watched this, probably people that were in their 20s, had no idea what the hell they actually watched. They probably seen this movie and said, you know what, this is just a cool little movie that's kind of funny. But this movie was nuts. And you cannot fully enjoy this movie unless you're a bit knowledgeable of the events that happened with Charles Manson, even if you know a little bit about it, it's enough to um, it's enough to trigger things from your memory. So anyone that's under like 35 years old might not have got the references that this movie was mainly about the killings in in uh that occurred in Hollywood with Charles Manson. And I don't think that many people know what actually happened back in those days. So um for that reason, I thought it was cool. I thought it was amazing. I thought the way he did that was really awesome. Aside from that, this movie was shot very clean, very good, very unsuspect. It was very like it was done very well where like it was kind of hiding the truth from you a little bit. You kind of don't know what the hell's going on. You just think it's a nice, fun, happy movie about Hollywood and a star, and you really don't think there's going to be any deaths or killings in this movie. Um, but it turned completely crazy and shocking. And I think the way that they handled this is it could have went a lot of ways. It could have been very gory. It could have been very crazy. It could have been complete. It could have showed all the deaths, but it didn't really show all the deaths and all the killings. So I like the way it ended, and I thought it was pretty cool. I don't think they're gonna make a part two, but it did need a part two. But I think it ended that way for whatever reason. But a part two would help. But I don't know if the story would be long enough for a part two. So I don't know. So I really like this movie. I would definitely recommend you watch this movie. But before you watch this movie, do a little bit of research on Charles Manson and what happened, and this movie would make a lot more sense um, for you. But it was absolutely an amazing movie. This is one of those movies that you actually buy like the 4K, or you buy, I don't know if you would, yeah, 4K is okay for this one. You buy the 4K, you buy the collector's edition. This is the movie you put on your for display, kind of like the Saving Private Ryan and the Schindler's List. Those are the ones that you kind of put like on your mantle to show off. Um, what tier would I put this in? I think it's cool. I think it's rewatchable. Um, Definitely, I could feel some of the scenes, like the wind, the golden hour shining in LA. I felt that. Like I know that I could almost smell it and feel it. So I felt that exact wind. I know what it feels like, and I've been there. So it's almost like I lived a lot of the parts here and there. So that was cool for me. Um, so I'll definitely rewatch this movie, probably with friends and family. Show them the movie, cause it is pretty damn cool, man. Absolutely love it. Um, Instant classic. This is gonna be a classic. This is gonna be iconic. This is gonna be one of those movies people are gonna watch for ages, for decades. And the more you learn about history of the Charles Manson murders, the more this is gonna make sense. And you're gonna appreciate it a little bit more. Also, if you've been to Hollywood and you've been to these restaurants and you've been to these theaters, you will know how iconic these places really are. And there's more iconic places that even I don't even know. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what places I can discover and which places I can go to, and try to visit all the places that are here in this movie. And um, I really remember the old theaters, even though a lot of them went away like in the 90s, but they still had the old theaters in the 90s and the 80s. And I remember that the theaters, but they're at that time they're already dumps. They're not brand new. But it's a good movie. It kind of feels like an ode to Hollywood. I don't know if he meant to do that on purpose, but it feels like an ode to Hollywood and old Hollywood. Um, and there's just so much detail in the movie that it's going to take a while to actually visit those places and enjoy those places and appreciate those places. There's a lot of history in this movie that even I don't know and I have to learn.